Getting started with the SharePoint Connector. Hey, I'm Erik, and in this video we're gonna configure the SharePoint Connector for the first use. So I assume that at this point you have installed the SharePoint Connector from App Source and you're ready to connect your Business Central to SharePoint. And let's get right into the meat of it. Here is my Business Central and here is my SharePoint. In this case, I have created a subsite on SharePoint called Finance, and we can see that here is the URL. We can see that it says hougaard.sharepoint.com/sites/finance, and then we can see it says /shared %20 documents. So those are the components of your SharePoint URL, and we're gonna get back to those in a second. If I go into Business Central and I locate SharePoint Setup, I can even spell wrong and it will still show up. The first thing we're met with is the registration page. We can click here to generate a registration code that will take us to eFocus homepage. You fill that out, you get a trial registration code that will work for 30 days. I already have one, so I'm just gonna paste it in. Otherwise, you'll get a code that you can paste into here. You might get asked, do you want to communicate with eFocus? You have to answer yes always. Now it's registered and we're ready for the setup. So we close this and we're met with the setup. And here we can see that some of these fields are actually related to the URL we just saw. So if I go back and find my URL, we can see that the base site, the base URL is hougaard.sharepoint.com. So we need to put that in here where it says tenant. And I need to spell my name right, otherwise this will not work. And then in site name, we need to tell the site, and we have three options. Either if you're running off the raw base site on your SharePoint, then site name is blank. If you have I'm calling the old-fashioned subsite, then it might just be called Finance and nothing else. If you have a group site, as the one we have here, where it's prefixed with sites, you put in the prefix here. So you said sites, finance. So we are matching the second part. Now we matched the first part in the base URL, now we're matching the second part. Then the third part is down here. It's called base folder, and it's pre-filled out with shared documents, and that happens to be what we're also using here. You can see the %20, that's URL speak for space, and we don't want that, so we're just going to use the space down here. The next decision you have to make, well, I guess the first thing wasn't really a decision. The next thing you need to do is decide how to authenticate with SharePoint. And we have two options. We can either do proxy, meaning that all the users in BC authenticates towards SharePoint through a shared account. So whatever permissions are granted to SharePoint, it's granted through a service account. So every user in BC will have the same permission in SharePoint, no matter how they individually have access. The other one is personal, meaning that everybody will have to authenticate through SharePoint. I'll do that. The other option you can see called Microsoft login method. So we have two ways of actually doing the login procedure. One is called device code and the other one is called app registration. App registration will need you to create an app registration and IDs and secrets and stuff like that, those fields over here. And your organization might need that depending on your organizational security setup. Otherwise, you can just use device code, which is much easier. So at this point, we're ready to connect. We have filled out those three fields. Actually, we only need to fill out two of them. And we decided how we want to connect. So now I'm going to hit connect. and we get a screen saying, please follow the instructions. That's always good. But the actual instructions are to sign in, use a web browser to open this page, device login, and enter the code. So we're going to grab this code and put it onto the clipboard and hit the link. This will open a new page. We paste in the link here, click next. You're signing into SharePoint Connector on another device located in Canada. Well, this is me, and this is what I want to do. Are you trying to sign into the SharePoint Connector? Yes, I am. You are now signed into the SharePoint Connector. So I close this one, and we can see that while we were doing that, this screen actually changed. And it tells us you do not have any table mappings defined. Do you want a default set of mappings to get started? Sure, please do. And now we're done. Let's see if it works. So I close this one. I go on to a customer, and I don't need the tour. I open the customer card, and we can see that now we have a SharePoint box on the customer card. So let's actually open a file. So I have a set of demo files. We can have, let's go with the puppies. So I just dragged the puppies directly onto the SharePoint box. This one is uploaded. So now we can see that on this customer we have puppies. We can go to another customer, and we can take the doc links and put that here. And let's just do one more for the sake of the video. What about the raccoon? So with that, we have already uploaded files to 3 customers, so we can use the SharePoint Connector and go to Browse on SharePoint to see where are they actually located. And we can see we are in the finance subsite where we are supposed to be. We are in Documents. There's a folder called Customers, and we are in the folder for this customer. We can see here are the raccoons. If I go up to Customers, we can see that we have now 3 folders on SharePoint for those 3 customers we uploaded to. We are only creating folders when we need to. So in here we have the puppies, and if I take the baby elephant and drag to this guy, so we now have 2 files on this one, and I can go back to that customer in BC, and we can see we have 2 files here. So our SharePoint Connector is now connected and is working as intended. Check on the other videos on how to configure table mappings and document generation and e-signing and all the other exciting features of the SharePoint Connector. And let us know if there's anything that you need us to help you with, or information on the SharePoint Connector or some of our other apps. That should be right on this screen that you can find our contact information. Thanks for watching.